The research ship Serenity's Edge moved through space like a silver needle threading through black cloth. Commander HFY stood on the bridge, his tall frame casting long shadows under the soft blue lights. His skin was almost see-through, and his four eyes moved independently as he watched the screens around him. "We are approaching the target system, Commander," said Science Officer Crix. The insect-like alien's voice came through the translator as a series of clicks and buzzes. Her 6 arms worked across multiple control panels at once. HFY nodded slowly. This was their 3rd survey mission this month. The Galactic Federation was always looking for new worlds and new species to welcome into their peaceful union. Most planets they found were empty rocks or gas giants. Sometimes they found simple life forms like plants or small animals. Very rarely, they discovered intelligent species. "Show me the planet readings," HFY ordered. The main screen lit up with data that made several crew members gasp. Crix's antennae twitched nervously as she read the numbers aloud. "Gravity is 1.3 times our standard. The atmosphere contains 21% oxygen." She paused. "Commander, that level of oxygen is highly toxic. It would burn our lungs in minutes." "Continue," HFY said, though his expression was growing darker. "Surface temperature varies from -40 to +50 degrees across the seasons. The planet experiences violent weather storms with winds reaching 200 kilometers per hour. Lightning strikes occur millions of times per day. The oceans contain salt levels that would poison most known species." Navigation Officer Thel, a blue-skinned humanoid with gills along his neck, spoke up from his station. "Sir, the tectonic plates are extremely active. This world experiences thousands of earthquakes daily. Some regions have active volcanoes that spew toxic gases." "Any life signs?" HFY asked, though he already suspected the answer. "Yes, Commander," Crix replied, her voice full of surprise. "The planet is covered with life forms. Massive creatures in the oceans, some over 30 meters long, flying predators with sharp teeth and claws, land animals that could crush our bodies with a single bite, and—" She paused, checking her readings twice. "There are energy signatures that suggest intelligent life." The bridge fell silent. Everyone stared at the data in disbelief. This planet registered as a Class 3 death world on the Federation scale. Class 3 was the highest danger rating possible. Even Class 8 worlds required special protective suits and equipment for brief visits. No intelligent species had ever been found living naturally on anything above Class 6. "The poor creatures," whispered Dr. Yala, the ship's medical officer. She was a peaceful plant-like being with green skin and leaves for hair. "How do they survive in such horrible conditions?" "They probably live underground," suggested Engineer Vox through his mechanical voice box. Half of his body was metal, the result of an accident that would have killed most organic beings. "Maybe in caves, hiding from the surface dangers." HFY studied the readings more carefully. The energy signatures were strange. They appeared to be coming from multiple locations across the planet's surface, not from underground caves. Some were very strong, suggesting large power sources. But that made no sense. How could primitive beings create such energy outputs while fighting just to stay alive? "Perhaps they found some ancient technology," offered Communications Officer Zara. She was small and fuzzy like a walking teddy bear with large, innocent eyes. "Maybe they discovered ruins from a more advanced species." "That would explain it," agreed Thel. "They might not even understand how to use the technology properly. They could be in great danger from their own ignorance." Crix continued scanning the planet's surface. "I'm detecting what appear to be structures, large ones. They stretch across vast areas of the continents." "Defensive walls?" asked Dr. Yala. "Shelters from the weather and predators?" "Most likely," HFY decided. "These beings have probably spent their entire evolution building bigger and better hiding places. They might venture out only when absolutely necessary, perhaps to gather food or water." The commander walked to the main viewing screen and stared at the blue and green planet below. White clouds swirled across its surface in violent-looking patterns. He could see the dark spots that were probably storm systems. Lightning flickered constantly across the night side like a deadly light show. "Sir," Crix said carefully, "there's something else. I'm detecting vehicles moving across the surface and in the atmosphere. Some appear to be traveling at very high speeds." Impossible, said Engineer Vox. Nothing could move safely in those atmospheric conditions. The storms would tear any aircraft apart. Maybe they're automated, suggested Thel. Ancient machines still running without operators. HFY considered this. It was possible that some old civilization had left behind automated systems that these primitive creatures couldn't control or understand. The Deathworlders probably watched in fear as mysterious vehicles moved through their hostile environment, carrying out purposes they couldn't comprehend. We should proceed with standard first contact protocols, the commander decided. But we'll need to be extra careful. These beings will be desperate and frightened. They've probably never seen anything from outside their world. They might think we're another threat. Should we prepare medical supplies? Asked Dr. Yala. They might be suffering from radiation poisoning, toxic exposure, or injuries from their dangerous environment. Yes. Prepare everything we have. Also, ready the emergency shelters. We might need to evacuate some of them immediately if their situation is as bad as it looks. The crew began preparations for what they assumed would be a difficult rescue mission. They had encountered primitive species before, usually living on Class 4 or Class V worlds that were challenging but not deadly. Those beings were often grateful for Federation help and eager to learn about the peaceful galaxy beyond their worlds. But this was different. These creatures had somehow survived on a world that should have killed them all millions of years ago. They would be tough, probably, aggressive from constant fighting for survival. They might not trust strangers easily. Commander, said Crix, I'm also detecting high levels of metal refinement and energy production. These readings suggest industrial activity. Industry? HFY was puzzled. How could they develop industry while fighting for basic survival? Perhaps they found automated factories, suggested Engineer Vox. Ancient machines that continue producing goods without intelligent control. Or maybe, added Zara quietly, they're more resourceful than we think. HFY looked at her with surprise. Zara rarely offered opinions about other species. She was usually content to handle communications and translations. What do you mean? He asked. Well, sir, if they've survived this long on such a dangerous world, they must be very good at adapting. Maybe they learned to use their harsh environment to their advantage somehow. The commander considered this, but shook his head. No species could thrive in conditions like these. They're probably just barely holding on, using whatever scraps of technology they can find or understand. We need to approach them as refugees, not as an advanced civilization. As the Serenity's Edge moved into orbit around the blue planet, the crew prepared for first contact with what they believed would be a desperate, primitive species clinging to survival on one of the most dangerous worlds in the galaxy. They had no idea that they were about to meet the most successful apex predators the universe had ever produced. The planet turned slowly below them, its surface hidden by swirling clouds and crackling storms. Somewhere down there, the Deathworlders continued their daily lives, completely unaware that their entire understanding of the galaxy was about to change forever. Captain Sarah Chen stared at the radar display in the Earth Defense Force control room. The unknown object had appeared 3 hours ago, moving too smoothly to be an asteroid and too large to be any human spacecraft. It was now in stable orbit. Around Earth, clearly artificial, and definitely not from around here. Any response to our communication attempts? She asked Lieutenant Morrison, her communications officer. Nothing yet, Captain. We've tried all standard frequencies and even some of the mathematical sequences the scientists suggested. Either they can't hear us, or they're choosing not to respond. Sarah nodded, studying the alien vessel on the main screen. It was beautiful. In a strange way, all smooth curves and soft lighting. It looked peaceful, but that didn't mean much. She'd learned long ago that appearances could be deceiving. Ma'am, called Sergeant Rodriguez from the tactical station. They're starting to descend. Looks like they're planning to enter our atmosphere. Alert status yellow, Sarah ordered. I want all defense satellites online and tracking that ship. If they do anything hostile, I want options. Meanwhile, aboard the Serenity's Edge, Commander HFY watched his crew prepare for atmospheric entry. Everyone was nervous. Entering, the atmosphere of a death world was dangerous even with their advanced technology. The violent storms and toxic air could damage their ship's systems. Take us down slowly, he ordered Navigator Thel. Stay well above the worst weather patterns. As they descended through the thick atmosphere, the alien crew got their first real look at the planet's surface. What they saw confused them completely. "Commander," Crix's voice was full of uncertainty, "those aren't defensive walls or hiding places. Those structures, they look like cities." The main screen showed vast urban areas stretching for hundreds of kilometers. Tall buildings reached toward the sky, connected by networks of roads and bridges. Lights twinkled across the landscape, even in daylight, suggesting massive energy consumption. "That's impossible," whispered Dr. Yala. "No primitive species could build such large settlements on a death world." "Maybe the cities are empty," suggested Engineer Vox. "Ancient ruins that still have some power systems running." But even as he spoke, they could see movement. Vehicles traveled along the roads in organized patterns. Aircraft moved through the dangerous atmosphere as if the deadly storms were no threat at all. "Sir," Thel reported, "I'm detecting multiple aircraft approaching our position. They're maintaining formation and matching our speed." On the screen, they could see sleek military jets flying alongside their ship. The human pilots flew with casual precision through atmospheric conditions that would terrify most Federation species. Captain Sarah Chen's voice came through the communications system, speaking in clear, confident English. The Federation's universal translator quickly converted her words. "Unknown vessel, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. You have entered our planet's sovereign airspace. Please identify yourself and state your intentions." HFY was surprised by the tone. He had expected fear, desperation, perhaps pleading for help. Instead, this voice carried authority and strength. These Deathworlders were treating his advanced starship like a potential threat, not like salvation from above. "This is Commander HFY of the Galactic Federation vessel Serenity's Edge," he responded. "We come in peace, seeking contact with your species." There was a brief pause. Then Sarah's voice returned. "Stand by, Serenity's Edge. Follow the escort aircraft to landing coordinates. Any deviation from the flight path will be considered hostile action." HFY looked at his crew. In amazement, these creatures were giving orders to a starship from an advanced galactic civilization. They weren't asking for help or cowering in fear. They were treating the situation like a routine security matter. "Should we comply, sir?" asked Thel nervously. "Yes," HFY decided, "but stay alert. These beings might be more dangerous than we thought." The Federation ship followed the human aircraft to a massive military airfield. As they landed, the alien crew could see through their viewports that they were surrounded by organized activity. Human soldiers moved with disciplined efficiency, setting up security perimeters and communication equipment. Heavy vehicles took positions around the landing area. "They're treating this like a potential invasion," observed Communications Officer Zara. "Not like a first contact with a peaceful exploration vessel." "Look at them," Dr. Yala said, pointing to the humans visible outside. "They're not wearing any protection from their toxic atmosphere, and they're moving so easily in this crushing gravity." The humans did indeed move with fluid grace across the landing field. Their bodies were compact and muscular, built for strength and endurance. Even the scientists and diplomats in the welcoming committee showed the physical conditioning that came from living in a hostile environment. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, Earth's lead xenobiologist, approached the Federation ship along with a team of human specialists. She was a middle-aged woman with graying hair and intelligent dark eyes. Behind her walked General Thompson, a tall man with graying temples and the bearing of someone accustomed to danger. "Atmospheric readings show their ship environment is safe for us," Dr. Rodriguez reported to Captain Chen via radio. "Lower gravity, thinner air, but nothing we can't handle for a few hours." This casual comment was intercepted by the Federation's communication systems. Crix translated it for her crewmates. "They're planning to board our ship," she reported, "and they're not bringing any protective equipment." "That's suicide," Engineer Vox said. "Our ship atmosphere will poison them in minutes, but when the airlock opened and the human delegation entered, they showed no signs of distress." Dr. Rodriguez looked around the alien ship with obvious curiosity and interest, not fear or difficulty breathing. "Fascinating architecture," she commented to her companion. "The gravity's a bit light, but the air mixture is breathable." Commander HFY met the humans in the main corridor, accompanied by his senior officers. The difference in size was immediately obvious. Even though HFY was tall by Federation standards, General Thompson matched his height and had twice his physical mass. Dr. Rodriguez was shorter, but moved with the confident stride of someone who feared nothing. "Welcome to Earth," Dr. Rodriguez said, extending her hand in the human gesture of greeting. When she smiled, HFY involuntarily stepped back. Her teeth were clearly designed for tearing meat, the dental pattern of an apex predator. "Ours." "You for allowing us to land," HFY replied, trying to maintain his composure. "We are explorers from the Galactic Federation, seeking peaceful contact with your species." Galactic Federation? Dr. Rodriguez's eyes lit up with excitement. "So there are other intelligent species out there." "This is incredible news!" General Thompson was more cautious. "What are your intentions here? This is quite a coincidence, showing up just as we've begun expanding our space exploration programs." HFY was again surprised by the human reaction. No mention of their dangerous world, no requests for rescue or aid. These Deathworlders spoke as equals, as if first contact with an advanced galactic civilization was just another interesting development in their day. "We offer friendship," HFY explained, "and membership in our peaceful union of worlds. We can share technology, knowledge, and culture. We can help your species join the galactic community." Dr. Rodriguez nodded thoughtfully. "We'd be very interested in cultural and scientific exchange, though I should mention we're probably more advanced than you might expect." Behind her, General Thompson smiled slightly. It was not a comforting expression to the alien visitors. As they began formal first contact procedures, the Federation crew slowly realized that their assumptions about these Deathworlders might be completely wrong. These weren't desperate survivors, clinging to life on a hostile world. These were confident, capable beings who had not just survived their dangerous planet but had mastered it completely. The real question was, what kind of species could thrive in conditions that would kill most? Galactic civilizations? And what did that mean for the balance of power in the galaxy? The formal cultural exchange began in the Federation ship's main conference room. Commander HFY had arranged for his best specialists to showcase the achievements of galactic civilization. He was confident that once these Deathworlders saw what the galaxy had to offer, they would be grateful for rescue from their harsh world. Dr. Yala went first, displaying holographic images of Federation medical technology. "We have eliminated disease from our worlds," she explained proudly. "Our average lifespan is over 400 standard years. We can regrow lost limbs and cure genetic disorders." Dr. Elena Rodriguez listened politely, making notes on her tablet. "That's impressive," she said. "Though I should mention humans already live to around 100 years, even in our harsh environment, and we've had genetic therapy for several decades now." Science Officer Crix demonstrated their terraforming technology next. "We can transform any planet into a garden world, perfect climate, controlled weather, peaceful ecosystems with no dangerous predators." "Interesting approach," commented Dr. Rodriguez. "We've chosen a different path. We prefer to adapt ourselves to natural environments rather than changing them. It's helped us develop remarkable flexibility and resilience." General Thompson leaned forward. "For example, humans currently live permanently in underwater cities, high-altitude mountain settlements, polar research stations, and even in space habitats. We find that challenging environments often bring out the best in us." Engineer Vox presented their energy and transportation systems. "Our cities use clean fusion power and gravity manipulation. Our vehicles can travel between star systems in perfect safety and comfort." Captain Sarah Chen, who had joined the exchange, smiled. "We've just started experimenting with fusion power ourselves. Our current energy comes mainly from what you'd probably consider dangerous sources: nuclear fission, geothermal taps into volcanic systems, and solar collectors that operate in our planet's intense radiation." "That sounds incredibly hazardous," whispered Communications Officer Zara. "Not really," Sarah replied. "You learn to work safely with dangerous forces when you grow up around them. Our children play in radioactive zones that we've cleaned up from old industrial accidents. Builds character." The Federation delegates exchanged worried glances. These humans spoke casually about radiation exposure that would kill most galactic species. Commander HFY tried a different approach. Perhaps you'd like to see recordings of our homeworlds. We've created perfect peaceful societies. The holographic display showed beautiful alien cities with gentle weather, calm lakes, and docile animals. The buildings were elegant and artistic, designed for comfort rather than defense. Citizens moved slowly and gracefully through parks filled with harmless decorative creatures. Very beautiful, Dr. Rodriguez said sincerely. Your worlds look wonderfully peaceful. What do you do for entertainment? Asked General Thompson. We have art galleries, philosophy discussions, meditation gardens, and gentle sports that emphasize cooperation over competition, HFY explained. Dr. Rodriguez looked thoughtful. That's quite different from human entertainment. Would you like to see some examples of our recreational activities? She activated her own tablet and showed video clips of various human sports and pastimes. The Federation crew watched in growing horror as humans threw themselves from high cliffs with only fabric wings, dove to crushing ocean depths, climbed vertical rock faces, and engaged in combat sports where they deliberately tried to defeat each other. This is what you do for fun? Dr. Yala asked weakly. Some of it, Sarah confirmed. We also enjoy extreme environment challenges. Last month I went ice climbing in Antarctica. Next month I'm planning a volcano hiking trip in Hawaii. You climb into active volcanoes? Crix's antennae were vibrating with shock. Sure. The lava flows are really spectacular up close. You just need proper heat suits and breathing equipment. Engineer Vox was studying the human technology displays with growing amazement. Your equipment seems unnecessarily robust. Maria Santos, Earth's lead engineer, laughed. Everything we build has to work in conditions that would destroy most. Machinery. We design for worst-case scenarios because on Earth, worst-case scenarios happen regularly. She showed them a standard human construction vehicle. A massive machine built to operate in extreme temperatures, resist earthquake damage, and function during severe storms. Our routine construction projects include building in active earthquake zones, on the slopes of volcanoes, and in areas with regular severe weather. We've learned to make everything stronger than it probably needs to be. What about your military technology? General Thompson asked casually. HFY hesitated. The Federation had moved beyond warfare centuries ago. We have defensive systems. Only. Our weapons are designed to disable, not destroy. Interesting philosophy, Thompson replied. Earth's history has been quite different. We've had to develop extensive defensive capabilities because our planet tried to kill us long before we ever worried about threats from space. He showed them images of human military equipment designed to function in radioactive environments underwater in Arctic conditions and in space. Everything looked brutally practical and built to survive conditions that would be considered uninhabitable death zones by Federation standards. Our soldiers train in environments that would be classified as extreme hazard zones by most standards, Thompson explained. Desert survival, Arctic warfare, underwater operations, high-altitude combat. When your home planet is trying to kill you every day, you learn to be prepared for anything. Dr. Yala was becoming increasingly distressed. Don't your people suffer from this constant stress and danger? Dr. Rodriguez considered the question seriously. Actually, we've found that humans thrive on reasonable amounts of challenge and danger. Our studies show that people become depressed and anxious when their lives are too safe and predictable. We seem to need some level of struggle to maintain psychological health. You need danger to be happy? Zara asked in disbelief. Not exactly danger, Sarah clarified. But we need purpose, challenge, the opportunity to test ourselves and grow stronger. A life without any risk or difficulty feels empty to most humans. This explains so much, muttered Engineer Vox. Communications Officer Zara was looking through human cultural databases with fascination and horror. Commander, you need to see this. They have entertainment called horror movies, where they watch simulated threats and violence for pleasure. And competitive fighting sports where they battle each other according to rules, added Crix. They call it martial arts, and consider it both entertainment and self-improvement. They have recreational activities called extreme sports that involve deliberately putting themselves in dangerous situations, Dr. Yala read from her medical scanner. Jumping from aircraft, Racing vehicles at high speeds, climbing mountains during storms. Commander HFY sat back in his chair trying to process what he was learning. These weren't primitive survivors barely clinging to life. These were apex predators who had turned their entire deadly planet into a training ground that had made them stronger, smarter, and more capable than any species the Federation had ever encountered. "Commander," Dr. Rodriguez said gently, "I think there might be a fundamental misunderstanding here. You seem to think we need to be rescued from our world. But Earth isn't our prison. It's our home. It's made us who we are." "We wouldn't want to live on one of your peaceful garden worlds," Sarah added. "It would probably drive us insane from boredom within a few months." General Thompson smiled that unsettling predator smile again. "Though we'd be very interested in visiting them sometime. We love exploring new and challenging environments." The Federation crew realized with growing unease that these humans weren't victims of their harsh world who needed saving. They were products of that world who had been shaped by it into something unprecedented in galactic civilization. The question now was, what did the galaxy do with a species that thrived on the kind of challenges that would destroy everyone else? The cultural exchange was interrupted by an urgent signal from the Federation communication array. Communications Officer Zara's fur stood on end as she received the incoming message, her small hands trembling as she worked her console. "Commander, HFY," she called out, her voice tight with fear. "Priority 1 distress signal from the colony ship Haven's Dream." The conference room fell silent. Priority 1 meant immediate mortal danger to Federation citizens. Commander HFY immediately activated the main display screen. Captain Mordek appeared on the screen, his usually calm reptilian features twisted with panic. Behind him, emergency lights flashed red and sparks flew from damaged equipment. "Serenities. Edge, thank the stars you're receiving this. We have suffered catastrophic system failures. Our engines are dead, life support is failing, and we're trapped in decaying orbit around the Kepler 442 pulsar," Dr. Yala gasped. Pulsars were among the most dangerous objects in the galaxy, spinning neutron stars that blasted deadly radiation in concentrated beams. "How many souls aboard?" HFY asked grimly. 50,000 colonists, mostly families with children, Mordek replied. "We were en route to establish a new settlement when we lost power during a routine maintenance cycle. The pulsar's radiation is increasing every hour. Our hull is already showing stress fractures." Science Officer Crix quickly pulled up the technical data. "Commander, the radiation levels around Kepler 442 exceed lethal limits by factor of 100. Even our best shielding would only protect us for minutes in that environment." "How long before orbital decay?" HFY asked. 18 hours, maybe less," Captain Mordek replied. "But our life support will fail long before that. We have maybe 12 hours before the radiation kills everyone aboard." Commander HFY felt the familiar weight of impossible decisions. He had faced situations like this before. The Federation had protocols for such disasters. Send what aid they could, evacuate whoever was possible, and accept that sometimes tragedies were simply too large to prevent. "We'll send out emergency calls to all nearby Federation vessels," he said heavily. "But Kepler 442 is in the outer rim. The nearest rescue ships are at least 20 hours away." "Too late," Mordek said quietly. "Thank you for trying, my friend. Please tell our families that we face the end with honor." The transmission cut out, leaving the conference room in stunned silence. Even the humans looked shocked by the scale of the disaster. 50,000 people, Dr. Rodriguez whispered. Captain Sarah Chen was studying the star charts on her tablet, her expression thoughtful. "How far is the Kepler 442 system from here?" 12 hours travel at maximum Federation speed, HFY replied automatically. "But it's a suicide mission. No known species can survive those radiation levels long enough to conduct rescue operations." Sarah looked up at General Thompson and Dr. Rodriguez. Something passed between them, a look of communication that the aliens didn't understand. "Could our ships make the journey in 12 hours?" Sarah asked her engineering team via communicator. "The Endeavor and Resilience could reach those coordinates in 11 hours if we push the engines to red line," came the reply from Engineer Santos. "But Captain, the radiation readings I'm seeing here, this is beyond anything we've ever attempted." Dr. Rodriguez was already pulling up radiation exposure data on her tablet. Tom, what's our heavy-duty radiation gear rated for? General Thompson, whose first name was apparently Tom, consulted his own device. The Mark 7 suits can handle up to 50,000 rads per hour for a maximum of 6 hours before reaching critical exposure limits. And the robots? Our hardened robotics can function in those conditions for about 8 hours before their circuits fry. The Federation crew listened to this exchange with growing amazement. These humans were actually discussing the technical feasibility of a rescue mission that no Federation species would even consider attempting. Wait, Commander HFY interrupted. You're not seriously considering attempting a rescue operation? Captain Chen looked at him with surprise. 50,000 people are going to die in 18 hours. Of course, we're considering a rescue operation. But it's impossible, Dr. Yala protested. The radiation levels would kill you in minutes. Not with proper equipment and planning, Dr. Rodriguez replied calmly. She was already making calculations on her tablet. It would be dangerous, certainly, but we've worked in high radiation environments before. Your definition of high radiation and ours appear to be very different, Science Officer Crix observed. Engineer Vox was studying the human equipment specifications with disbelief. Your standard radiation protection is rated for exposure, levels that would be considered instantly lethal by Federation safety standards. Well, General Thompson said with a slight smile, we've had to develop pretty robust safety equipment. Nuclear accidents, solar flares, working in space without much shielding. You learn to build gear that can handle the worst-case scenarios. Sarah was now on her communicator with Earth Command. Admiral Martinez, we have a situation. 50,000. Federation civilians are trapped in a radiation zone that will kill them in the next 12 hours. Request permission to attempt rescue operation. The response came quickly. Permission granted, Captain. What do you need? Full emergency authorization for a Class Alpha radiation mission. I want every piece of heavy-duty equipment we have, and I want volunteers only. This is going to be dangerous even by our standards. Within minutes, the human military base around them had transformed into a storm of organized activity. Aircraft roared overhead, carrying specialized equipment from storage facilities around the globe. The largest human starships, vessels that the Federation crew now realized were built far more robustly than their own elegant craft, were being loaded with radiation shielding, medical supplies, and repair equipment. This is madness, Commander HFY said quietly. You'll all die for nothing. Dr. Rodriguez looked at him with genuine puzzlement. We might die, yes. That's always a risk. But 50,000 innocent people will definitely die if we do nothing. How is that not worth the attempt? Because you can't save them all, HFY replied. It's better to accept loss than to throw away more lives in a hopeless gesture. Maybe, Sarah said, pulling on her radiation suit. But humans have a saying, never tell us the odds. We've accomplished a lot of impossible things by refusing to accept that they were impossible. General Thompson was suiting up as well. Besides, we've survived and thrived on a planet that should have killed us. If anyone can pull off a rescue mission in impossible conditions, it's us. Dr. Yala was monitoring the human preparations with her medical scanners. Commander, their equipment readings are off the charts. Their radiation suits could protect us in environments we classify as uninhabitable death zones. And their ships, added Engineer Vox. I'm reading hull specifications that could withstand impacts and conditions that would destroy our vessels. Science Officer Crix was studying the human mission plans. They're not just planning to evacuate people. They're planning to repair the colony ship's engines and life support systems while working in lethal radiation conditions. Commander HFY watched the human preparations with a mixture of admiration and terror. These Deathworlders were preparing to attempt something that every Federation protocol said was impossible. They were doing it with the calm professionalism of routine emergency responders. Captain Chen, he called out as she headed toward her ship. Why are you doing this? These aren't your people? You owe the Federation nothing. Sarah paused and looked back at him. Commander, when people are in trouble, you help them. It doesn't matter who they are or where they come from. That's what decent beings do. But the risk. The risk is acceptable, she said firmly. We're not throwing our lives away. We're using our capabilities to save others. There's a difference. As the human rescue fleet prepared to depart for what the Federation considered a certain suicide mission, Commander HFY realized that these Deathworlders didn't just think differently about danger and challenge. They thought differently about what was possible, and that might change everything in the galaxy. The combined Human Federation fleet raced through space toward the Kepler 442 system. Commander HFY sat on the bridge of the Serenity's edge, watching the human ships on his display screens. The vessels moved with purpose and precision that spoke of crews accustomed to operating in dangerous conditions. Captain Sarah Chen's voice came over the communication system from her flagship, the Endeavor. Federation vessel, we're approaching the radiation zone boundary. We recommend you maintain position at least 10,000 kilometers from the pulsar's influence. Understood, HFY replied. Captain Chen, our sensors show radiation levels increasing beyond survivable limits. Are you certain about this course of action? As certain as we can be, Sarah responded calmly. We've run the calculations 3 times. It's going to be close, but we think we can pull this off. Science Officer Crix monitored the human ships as they entered the radiation field that surrounded the pulsar. Her instruments immediately began registering exposure levels that would kill most Federation species in minutes. Commander, she reported, the human vessels are now experiencing radiation levels of 40,000 rads per hour. That's 20 times the lethal limit for our species. On the main screen, they could see the colony ship Haven's Dream tumbling slowly in its decaying orbit. The massive vessel showed obvious signs of damage, hull breaches, failed systems, and no active propulsion. 50,000 Federation citizens were trapped inside, slowly dying as radiation poisoned their bodies and their ship fell toward the neutron star. Endeavor to all ships. Sarah's voice remained steady despite the impossible situation. We have 6 hours to complete repairs and evacuation before the radiation becomes lethal even for us. Teams Alpha through Delta will handle hull repairs and engine restoration. Teams Echo and Foxtrot will coordinate civilian evacuation. Dr. Rodriguez's voice joined the communication from the medical ship Resilience. I'm reading massive radiation, poisoning among the colony ship's crew. We'll need to establish emergency medical facilities aboard our ships to treat the victims. The Federation crew watched in stunned silence as human teams suited up in radiation gear that looked more like armored spacesuits than protective clothing. The equipment was bulky, heavily shielded, and covered with warning labels in multiple human languages. Those suits must weigh twice what a normal Federation crew member weighs, observed Engineer Vox. The humans are moving normally in them, Dr. Yala noted with amazement. Their physical strength must be extraordinary. Through their viewports, they could see human shuttlecraft approaching the crippled colony ship. The shuttles moved with confidence through the radiation storm, their hulls glowing slightly from the intense energy bombardment. General Thompson's voice came over the radio as he led the first boarding team. Haven's Dream, this is General Thompson of the Earth Rescue Force. We're coming aboard to assist with repairs and evacuation. Prepare to receive boarding parties. Captain Mordeck's weak reply came through heavy static. General Thompson, you shouldn't be here. The radiation will kill you. Not today, Captain, Thompson replied cheerfully. We're harder to kill than most people expect. The first human teams docked with the colony ship and immediately began emergency operations. Through the Federation's monitoring systems, they could hear radio chatter as the humans worked. Engineering Team Alpha to bridge, we've reached the engine compartment. Radiation levels are... Wow, okay, that's pretty intense, even for us, but we're green to proceed. Medical Team Echo here, we've established a triage station in Base 7, starting emergency treatment for radiation poisoning. These folks are in bad shape, but they're stable. Repair Team Delta, we've located the main hull breach, beginning emergency patch procedures. This is going to take some heavy welding in a radiation field, but nothing we haven't done before. Commander HFY listened to the calm professionalism in their voices with growing amazement. These humans were working in conditions that would panic most Federation emergency teams, and they sounded like they were conducting routine maintenance. Dr. Yala was monitoring the human medical teams through her remote sensors. Commander, they're treating radiation exposure levels that should have killed those colonists hours ago, and they're succeeding. Their medical technology is far more advanced than they let us believe, or, suggested Science Officer Crix, they've had much more practice treating radiation poisoning than we have. Through the hours that followed, the Federation crew watched the humans accomplish what should have been impossible. Engineering teams worked in open space, welding hull plates while bathed in lethal radiation. Medical teams treated thousands of patients with swift efficiency. Evacuation shuttles moved back and forth, carrying Federation civilians to safety. Aboard the heavily shielded human ships. Serenity's Edge. This is Captain Chen. Sarah's voice came over the radio. We've restored life support and basic propulsion to the Haven's Dream. The ship can maintain stable orbit now. We're continuing evacuation operations for the most severely injured, but the immediate crisis is over. How is this possible? HFY asked, no longer trying to hide his amazement. Well, Sarah replied, when you grow up on a planet with natural radiation levels, cosmic ray exposure, and regular solar flares, you learn to work safely in high radiation environments. This is dangerous for us, but it's not impossible. Dr. Rodriguez added her report from the medical ship. We've treated over 15,000 Federation citizens for severe radiation poisoning. With proper medical care, 95% of them will make full recoveries. 95%? Dr. Yala whispered. That survival rate should be impossible with such severe exposure. We've had a lot of practice, Dr. Rodriguez replied simply. Nuclear accidents, solar storm exposure, space radiation sickness, occupational hazards when you live on a death world and work in space without much protection. As the rescue operation concluded, the human teams began withdrawing from the radiation zone. The Haven's Dream was stable and safe, its 50,000 passengers alive and recovering. The human ships showed signs of radiation damage, but nothing. Their crews couldn't repair. General Thompson's final report was characteristically understated. Mission accomplished. No human casualties, minimal equipment loss. All Federation civilians secured and receiving medical treatment. Commander HFY stared at the displays showing the successful rescue operation. Everything the Federation knew about what was possible had just been proven wrong by a species that treated the impossible as merely difficult. Captain Chen, he called over the radio. The Galactic Federation owes humanity a debt that can never be repaid. No debt necessary, Commander, Sarah replied. We were just doing what anyone would do in that situation. No, HFY said quietly. What you did today, no one else in the galaxy could have done it. We need to talk when we return to Earth. Communications Officer Zara was already composing messages to Federation headquarters. Sir, I'm sending a Priority Alpha report to the High Council. They need to know about human capabilities immediately. What will you tell them? Asked Dr. Yala. The truth, Zara replied. That we've discovered a species that considers impossible rescue missions to be routine emergency response. That they possess technology and capabilities that exceed our own in areas we thought we were advanced. And that they're willing to risk their lives to save complete strangers. Science Officer Crix was reviewing all the data they had collected. Commander, I've been analyzing their equipment, their procedures, their physical capabilities. These humans aren't just survivors of a death world. They're the result of evolutionary pressure that has produced something unprecedented in galactic civilization. What do you mean? HFY asked. They're a species that thrives on challenges that would destroy others. They've turned survival into an art form. They don't just adapt to dangerous conditions, they master them. Engineer Vox was studying the human ship designs with new understanding. Their technology isn't primitive, it's practical. Every system is over-engineered for reliability in extreme conditions. They build things to work when everything else fails. As the fleet prepared to return to Earth, Commander HFY realized that the Galactic Federation was about to face a fundamental change. For thousands of years, they had been the advanced civilization bringing peace and technology to primitive species. Now they had encountered a species that might be more capable than any of them. Communications Officer Zara, he ordered, prepare a full diplomatic request to the Federation High Council. I want humanity offered immediate membership with full voting rights and emergency response authority. Sir? Zara looked confused. We don't offer full membership after just one contact. We do now, HFY replied firmly. Because I have a feeling that the next time someone in the galaxy faces an impossible situation, we're going to want these Deathworlders on our side. As Earth grew larger on their screens, the Federation crew knew they were returning with news. That would change the galaxy forever. Humanity wasn't just another species to be welcomed into galactic civilization. They were the specialists the galaxy had been waiting for without knowing it. the ones who could accomplish the impossible when everything went wrong.